Well, good day, everybody, and welcome to Dan Can RV2. Today, subject, the little Chinese heater, diesel heater. I'm going to show you what I did, why I did it, and how cheap it was. And to answer your question, yes, they do work. They work very well, and it's completely awesome. Stand by while I move around here. Okay, so there's a few things to consider when you're doing one of these little Chinese heaters. First of all, the location. And the location, there's obviously some things that you really need to consider. First of all, the power. Now, I've got my power run right into my converter here, which is my DC to DC charger, converter, call it what you want. So that's where my power is coming in from. And also, my cables for my remote are going that way too. The next thing you want to consider is how to get the hot air into your house or whatever you're living in, all right, to your living space. And the next thing to consider is the exhaust. Now, the exhaust, it will get hot. As you can see, the pipe, I bent it a little bit in a zigzag here because I wanted to take a full advantage of its length for heat reasons. Also, you can see the little piece of wood there did burn by just having it like that for a few minutes. So you'll have to consider that. And for me, that was the main consideration, was the exhaust. I didn't want to have this hot pipe going through my basement and damaging the stuff. And also, I did not want to make a hole in the bottom of my RV, in the side of my RV or anything else. So I'm going to show you how I got around that. Now, another thing you'll want to consider is the location of your fuel. They say that you can have it below the actual pump by about a meter, but I figured I'd put it in a location where it would be above. The pump would not have to work so hard to suck the material, or suck the diesel in, and that way it would work more efficiently, easier, and make less noise. I did at one point consider mounting it to my door, my side door that's right here. On the inside, I was going to put some brackets or Velcro or tape, double-sided tape or some way, and didn't really want to make any holes in that door either, just to hold the diesel tank. Now, it would have been a lot easier to have it there in order to fuel it up, but instead I put it up here with some straps and a little right angle piece of metal here just to support the weight. So when I want to fill it, the hose is long enough so that I can put this on the ground. I put these old computer rubber feet on the bottom. You can use felt pads, you can use whatever, just so it's not on the ground while you're filling it up. And lastly, the thing you want to consider is airflow. Now, if the air is coming in through this port and it's going through a 3-inch pipe, you need to calculate 3 inches of space worth of air coming back in to this sealed area. Otherwise, you're going to have the heater sucking the air to try to push it into your living area. So what I've done is I cut a 2-inch hole. As you can see, I took a computer fan grill and I just put it in front just for make it look nice. And I drilled a 4-inch hole for a 3-inch pipe, giving me a little bit of space on each side for air to return in that direction. I also calculated the amount of air coming in through my cable hole here to be approximately 1 inch. So I have 1 inch here, 2 inches there, and 1 inch of air returning from the all 3 of these are returning from the living quarters. And when I say living quarters, I mean the living area, whatever your van or your vehicle or whatever you're living in. So I'm going to get into the heat in a second here. I just wanted to show you that I mounted this thing on the inside of the door frame. And I put a little shelf up there. What you don't see on the inside here is these right angles, just to help support the weight and yeah, just to make it a little bit more stable. These side panels, there's only like one screw holding that in, and it's really just to direct the airflow. Now, what I did for the back part here, because I didn't want it to be too obvious that I had a heater, and I also didn't want to make holes in my existing door. So what I did is I cut a piece of plywood the size of the door, right? And I made a hole in the proper location for the exhaust to come out. Now there's a little muffler that comes with these things, and the little muffler is just going to sit hand tight on the end of that. It'll come out about 8 inches. Also, I took a 1.5 inch copper pipe, because that's all I had available, and I put a slit in it and I tightened it up until it overlapped and got smaller, and I was able to just use it as a metal washer or spacer, you might say, just so that the wood and the exhaust pipe itself are not in direct contact. So as I was saying earlier, there's a little bit, I was trying to use the heat off this pipe to kind of heat the air around it, so that when it goes into the heater, it's already a little bit warmer than normal. Not only that, but the air that's coming in from the living area is also a little bit warmer. So I put this, this is actually the case of a computer. So if you go somewhere, the dump, or if somebody's throwing out a computer, keep the side of it. It's a good, nice, thick piece of metal that you can use as a guard, you know, for heat shield, that kind of thing. The pump isn't really making any noise that I can hear, but I've got it loosely tied. It's got a little bit of foam around it just to deaden the sound. And over here, I did some updates here. I'll explain in a second. Okay, so this is what I mean by don't outsmart yourself. I went through all the trouble of making a plate out of wood, a shelf out of wood, sorry. And then I had to expand this hole to get the clip in, because the clip wouldn't fit. But technically, I don't think you're supposed to do this. I think you have to make a hole all the way around, just enough to get these nuts in, simply because it's part of the plate's heat dissipation. So don't go nuts and try to make it super fancy like I did by mistake. Also, it'll help your hose clamps, or your whatever clamps you're using for that, to hold a little bit better, as you won't have that, you know, 3/8 or 5/16 or whatever it is that you're using for a shelf, if that's what you're doing. So, all right, back to the video. So yeah, as I just explained, you need to be able to put these clamps on fairly close to the plate, simply because the way the little pieces come out, the little schnoz that come out that you need to wrap around. If you're using really thick wood, it's not going to work. So you have to do that. Nothing needed to be too fancy about that. So here we are. We got the fuel coming in, and we got the air coming in, and it's got a little filter kind of thing going on for bugs, more or less, because it's a fairly thick, fairly thin material, and the little squares are fairly big, so and you're not going to stop much out of that, but it's going in to burn anyway, so be it. And then you got your exhaust. So those are the main ideas of the heater. It is a nice, warm, dry heat. A lot of people use the propane heaters, and they produce a lot of humidity. As you may know, your windows will fog up, and you'll have some mold issues and any number of other problems. So let me take you inside and show you the results. All right, so here we are on the inside. This is where the air is coming in. As you can see, you also have to look at, think about all your pipes on both sides of the wall before you start drilling. I had to drill into this carpet, so it was a little bit tough at times. Same thing with the 2-inch hole over there. Also, what I've done is I ran the cable with all the rest of the cables through here, and I had to get it was just not quite long enough. So I ended up getting, putting in an extension cord on it over to the connector here. Now I just made a hole and I put Velcro on it so that you can, let me get out of the way here. So I made a hole just to get the wire through. And on this side, you can see I mounted the meter. Now, if I need to, it's just Velcro, so I can just pull it off. Little Velcro on the side, and I can just pull it out as long as I want. You know, I got like 4 feet of cable here, so if I want to stand up and, you know, try to fix the time or adjust the, I don't know, the temperature, check stuff over, and it's easy to do standing up. And then I just put it all back and just, you know, use the Velcro to block the hole generally, and just like that, and so you don't even see it. All right, so on the other end I've got, oh, there's no light over here. So some of you will recognize this as my water container and my bed. So that becomes a more or less sealed unit in there. So I ended up having to compensate for the fact that all that air is coming in this way. Air has to be going that way, like to get to those holes that I made for the air return. So what I did is I did on the other side here, again, I did some I made some holes using a drill, but I covered them with a 3-inch grill there on both sides. I did that on both sides here. Let me see. Right over there. Oh, I'm blocking the view. So that way, there's 2 3-inch holes going in, providing air inside the container in order to make their way to the basement. So in the end, this is kind of what my install looks like. I have a little piece of string that I hold the door open with, or I put it like on a bit of an angle in case it rains. But this provides enough space for the air to come out. I might put a little 90-degree or just a little piece of hose to bring it down a little more. And if the motor, the blower is sucking air, it'll suck air, the outside air from this space here, which will also act as a cooling for that exhaust pipe. So once again, this can be as easy or as difficult as you want to make it. Yes, it is an actual computer case that I used. I just put a 2x4 across, and I pulled the other part up until it bent. Doesn't have to be difficult, guys. Each person has its own desire to have it in, you know, whatever location for whatever reason. I found that for me the heat was the big #1 thing. I didn't want it melting anything else that I have in storage. But if you don't have any of those worries, then, and you're okay with drilling a hole in your RV, then Bob's your uncle. One word of advice: the little clamps that come with the kit, good stuff, but the spout coming out of the tank is a little bit bigger, and so when you put the rubber on the spout, the clamp does hold fairly well. However, the hose, the fuel line going into the rubber, is a little smaller, so even though you have a clamp on it, it doesn't really hold that well. It does, you know, kind of leak, but nothing serious. But I'll be taking that clamp off and putting the actual hose clamp that you need to screw and tighten down, just to make sure that no leaks happen. So anyways, I hope this has been of use to somebody somewhere out there. I'm going to be setting up my YouTube for people to make comments and leave their questions if they have any. So it's your imagination, guys, is the limit. So your abilities, University of YouTube will definitely help you there. Do not doubt yourself. Worst case scenario, you have something that you have to fix a little bit, you know, but 9 times out of 10, you'll be fine. Just give it a shot. Don't be afraid to try. All right, guys, have a nice day. I wish you all the best, and we'll see you next time.